your sensei!
You're listening to RetroSensei podcast.
You're listening to episode 1 of RetroSensei, AbilityPowered.com and E3 2015.
Thank you, and welcome to the first episode of the RetroSensei podcast. I'm Chris, the RetroSensei, and I have with us here Short from AbilityPowered.com. Short, how you doing tonight?
Hello, I'm okay.
Good. I'd like to start by letting you go ahead and tell a little bit about your blog, your site, and what you do and what it's all about.
So, I'm disabled, and AbilityPowered.com is all about tips and kind of first looks of video games for disabled gamers. Like if there's colorblind mode, if you can play with just the mouse, if there's windowed mode, if there's key bindings, things like that.
I see. Now, your blog is, what are you about? Your site's, what, about 2 years old now? Am I right or wrong on that?
Yeah, we turned 2 in April.
Wow. Man, it's been that long. Doesn't seem that long. Since you started your site, what would you say the ratio is these days to games that are fairly accessible to games that are not? Is it still a large portion of games that don't really keep that in mind when it comes to disabled gamers?
Oh yeah, there's a lot that either don't keep it in mind or that just downright refuse to add things. I mean, they'll say, oh, it takes too much time and effort to code it in, when in fact, small little independent developers are doing it in a matter of minutes. So.
And it doesn't take that long.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, what are some of the best players in the game as far as accessibility options for disabled gamers? What are some of the developers, some of the games that have a real good track record for it?
Okay. Well, I'm a big fangirl of the company, but I mean, straight up honest, Blizzard does accessibility really well. There's full key binding options for World of Warcraft. Most of their games, I mean, you can key bind things. There's always colorblind mode. In World of Warcraft, they even added a move pad, so you can just click on arrows instead of having to use a keyboard or your 2 mouse buttons to run. So they're really good, and I can't remember the developer's name. But the guy that made Legend of Grimrock, which is an older game, this guy actually, somebody went on the forums one day and said, hey, I love this game and I want to play it, but I can't play it with just a mouse. Can you add a move pad? And within an hour of the guy seeing it, the developer was like, it's added. Wow,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I like Grimrock. Grimrock is similar to some games that I played when I was a lot younger. Wizardry. I don't know if you're familiar with the series, but it's a really old dungeon crawl game. Started on the Apple, and they had a PC version. I think they even had an NES version. And Grimrock is in that kind of genre. But sad to admit, I've not actually played much of Legend of Grimrock. Have you messed around with it at all?
I haven't finished it, but I started it. I don't have a video up for it yet, but I've got the initial, first look recorded. And I have to say, it's really easy.
Cool. Well, that's good to know. And of course, my site is the site that's currently hosting the podcast, and that's RetroSensei.net. It's sort of a general gaming site, but I too tend to focus a lot on older games. Really, to be quite honest, my site is pretty much a mess. It's just things that interest me personally. Games, Star Wars, Dungeons & Dragons, just anything that I find particularly interesting. So it's sort of like my own head spilled out onto the internet, so to speak. But games is always a focus of the site, and it's a focus of your site as well. So I thought we could get together tonight and talk a little bit about games. Now, these days you play pretty much primarily on the PC, I understand. Is that right?
Yeah, I play a couple of different games, and then we have PlayStation 4, but I call it backseat gaming. I usually just watch that I want to see played. It's usually something my brother's going to play anyway, so I just kind of watch him. Kind of like live streaming, except we're in the same room.
Gotcha. Well, that's cool. And so he games a lot as well?
Oh, all the time.
Okay. Now you played a lot of console systems in the 80s, the NES and things like that. Is that correct?
Yeah, I started out on Odyssey 2, I think it was, by Magnavox, and then of course the Nintendos, and then up to PlayStation. I think I quit playing consoles when PlayStation 3 came out.
I see. Do you remember? This may be a tough question, but do you remember what your first video game was?
I don't remember what it was on Odyssey, but on Nintendo it was Super Mario Brothers.
That's right. And I think that's true for a lot of people from that generation. For me, the first video game that I ever remember playing is Centipede. I remember playing it on an arcade machine at a Pizza Hut when I was a little kid, and then Pac-Man and some of those. But my first in-home console was the Atari 2600, which was popular at the time, but it didn't compare in power to the games that were in the arcade, really. In fact, I don't think there was parity between arcade graphics and gameplay until the NES came out, because I remember seeing Super Mario Brothers in an arcade cabinet, and it looked and played exactly the same way on the NES at home. And that was the first time that I ever really had that gaming power in the living room, and of course it's just been downhill from there ever since. A lot of people your age and my age, I think the NES was the first big one for them.
Oh yeah, like you said, our age, we were raised on video games, more or less.
That's true. That's true. And more so, I guess, I have two children that are of gaming age, and I think it's really even more true for them these days, because you and I are kids of the 80s, for the most part, and or we came of age in the 80s and 90s, and we had things like Saturday morning cartoons. I mean, you remember that? Gummy Bears and the Smurfs and everything that was on TV. There is no Saturday morning cartoons anymore, not like there used to be when we were kids.
No. They're getting rid of all the good stuff.
I mean, I used to wake up on Saturday mornings, and that was my routine. I'd have a bowl of cereal, and I'd watch cartoons, and then I'd play. My kids wake up, they have something to eat for breakfast. There's nothing good on TV. They, pick up their Nintendo, 3DS, or turn on the Xbox, or, if the weather's nice, they might go outside. But, where I'm at here in the South, it's often awfully too hot to go outside and play in the middle of the day. Or if you have a summer like this one, the weather is just not very permitting. So they're growing up with games, I think, even more than we did, to a large part. But now, one thing that I did want to ask you about, and it's kind of getting to be a little old news at this point, but it's still new for us, is E3 was a few weeks ago, and you watched some of the streams, is that right?
Yeah, I got Microsoft, Nintendo, and I missed Sony because of Raid Nut. But yeah, I got those were the two big ones I got.
Now, of the streams that you saw, or really, I guess, even of the reports that you read of E3 coverage, what was your favorite news item this year to come out of E3? Or your favorite game announcement? Just, whatever. What really got your attention?
Kingdom Hearts trailer.
Kingdom Hearts. So you're a big Kingdom Hearts fan, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, you're a big Disney fan anyways, aren't you?
Yeah, and mixing Disney with Final Fantasy, genius.
You go to Disney about, once a year, isn't it?
We try. We've gone the last couple of years, but before that, there's been, spans of years between them.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big Final Fantasy fan. I played the first one when it came out in 89 or 88, 89, whenever it was, and I've played every one since. I have owned Kingdom Hearts for the PS2 when it first came out, but I'm ashamed to admit I've never finished it, and I didn't get much playtime with it. Have you played every game in the series thus far?
I haven't played the ones on the DS, but we played all the console ones.
That's definitely on my to-do list, and I know that Kingdom Hearts was a big announcement for both Sony and really for Square Enix this year. Square Enix's conference really left a lot to be desired for me, with the exception of the Kingdom Hearts announcement. Of course, they did announce the remake of Final Fantasy VII, and that's something that gamers have been begging for years and years, and it's definitely going to be a moneymaker for them. But I tend to agree. I think Kingdom Hearts 3 is probably going to be... I believe that's coming out first before the remake of 7, and I think that's going to be Square Enix's next big release, at least for the foreseeable future. Are you guys... you said your brother's got the PS4 at home. Is that one you guys are planning on getting?
Oh yeah, we'll have it probably pre-ordered and be waiting by the mailbox.
I didn't catch a date on it. Did they announce a date for...
No, they just keep teasing us with soon.
Okay, yeah, they tend to do that these days. Well, I'm not going to complain, because that's going to give me time to catch up a little bit and maybe play the first two in the series. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed and hope I can get that in before it comes out.
Yeah, I think it's really good that they released them on the PlayStation 3, the old ones, so... And I think the ones for DS are even on... I want to say it's the second release that they put out that's on the PlayStation 3. So you can get completely caught up.
Just on one... You said... So you believe they're all on the PS3 then? Even the spin-off games? Cool. I need to look into that. As a Square Enix fan, like I said, it's a bit of a shame that I haven't actually played them. But this is going to be a good opportunity to do that.
But what about you? I mean, what was the big... Was Final Fantasy your big announcement?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I love Final Fantasy, but I'm not one of the people who've been begging for a remake of 7, just because I tend to not get that enthusiastic personally about remakes, especially when a game is so good to begin with. I was really hoping to see more on the next Final Fantasy 15. But the footage on that was pretty much non-existent at this E3. And the other Final Fantasy games they did announce were spin-off games or mobile-type things, which are interesting to me, but it doesn't have that same hype level, And what they did show of Final Fantasy VII Remake really just equated to a CG video. I didn't really see any gameplay footage or anything like that. So I'm going to save, I think, a lot of my excitement until more details come out, too.
Definitely.
But yeah, I mean, I'm certainly interested in a remake of 7. But I guess when it comes to remakes, the game I was really hoping they would announce was a HD remake of Final Fantasy 12, because they did that for Final Fantasy X. There's a PS3 and a PS4, and even a Vita version of that. That was an old PS2 game. And of course, a lot of people don't have access to PS2 titles anymore. So releasing it on modern hardware, expands the audience. And it's the same thing with Final Fantasy XII. That was a PS2 game. And now I own it, and I'm actually currently playing it right now on the PS3. I have a first-gen PS3. But it's one of those few games that it doesn't translate well to a modern-day TV.
Oh.
It's got widescreen support and everything, but it just doesn't look as good as it would look, on an old tube, an old box TV.
Oh, yeah.
So I was hoping they'd announce a modern version of that, an HD remake for that, and I could play it and look and work a little bit better. So I guess that might have been part of the reason I felt lackluster about Square this year, because a lot of people were expecting them to announce that, and it just didn't happen. But one thing that did shock me and really got my attention at E3 was Microsoft, the Xbox news.
Backwards compatibility.
That's it in a nutshell. See, I own a 360, and I don't play it much, to be honest. There's a handful of games that I did play on it. My kids still play it. They play Lego Star Wars and Lego Harry Potter and all that stuff, and my oldest son, he plays like wrestling games, WWE, 2K15, and all that. So they're the big 360 users. But there was really nothing until now that got my interest in purchasing an Xbox One. The few titles that they have that are exclusive to it were not enough to just make me want to throw out, what is it, $500, I think, for an Xbox One?
Yeah.
Is that how much they cost?
Yeah, I think so.
And to spend that much on new hardware when 80% of the games that I want to play are available on the PS4 as well, it just didn't make sense to me. But now that they've announced backwards compatibility, that does sweeten the deal a little bit for me. I'm still not rushing out to go buy one right now, but it's definitely something that I'm considering, and it's on my list of things to purchase if I had the disposable income.
Yeah, I think that was a really good way for them to go, because, I mean, I remember the E3 when they announced the new Xbox, and it was a complete disaster, and nobody was on board. And
I was flabbergasted by it.
Yeah, it seemed like this year they got a little bit of that demon, back behind them.
I agree. I remember, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago,
Yeah.
they announced the Xbox One, and they spent all this time talking about how you could watch sports on it, and it was like an interactive thing. You could watch football, and you could interact with it on this app, and I was like, okay, that's kind of cool, but I mean, what are you selling me? Are you selling me a gaming machine, or is this something else altogether?
Oh, yeah.
And the Kinect integration and all that, while that's nice, I don't think it took off the way they wanted it to. I have a Kinect for my Xbox 360, and the thing doesn't work very well. I mean, it's a nightmare,
Oh, yeah.
And in fact, I think it didn't really even go the way they wanted it to, because they ended up releasing an Xbox One without the Kinect built in, and I think it sold more than the original model. So, but you're right. I think they got some of their mojo back this year, and I just hope they can deliver on it. They've announced the list of games that are going to be available in Phase 1 for backwards compatibility, and there's some good stuff on there, but for me it doesn't quite go far enough yet, but I'm definitely keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, I think it'll help a lot when they expand that list, because I know when they first announced it, and I haven't seen it since then, but there just wasn't that much on there that I was even, remotely into.
Yeah, but it is, like you said, it is something to keep an eye on, and I mean, it's definitely a step in the right direction. So I'm all about it, and I'm real curious to see how it's going to work, because I understand that they still don't have the Xbox One. The Xbox One is still not physically able to read and play the data on the discs, but I think it can identify the 360 discs that are in there and starts a download, so it installs the game digitally on the machine and it's playable that way. But that works. That works for me too. But whatever they can do to put some kind of layer of compatibility in there is great. And I think they got it right, because one thing they stressed this E3 was, we're not going to charge you for games that you already own. Did you hear them say that?
Yeah, and I thought there was a big change from the first round when it came out, and they were like, well, if you share a game with your friend, then you're going to have to pay $5 to play it, and then they're going to have to pay $5 to put it back on theirs. And I thought that was just crazy. But now they seem like they're turning it around.
I agree, and it also seems to me to be a bit of a stab at Sony, because what the PS4 has done with their quote-unquote backwards compatibility is they have this new streaming service that'll let you rent PS3 titles and PS2 titles. Have you seen that?
PlayStation Now?
Yes, and I haven't looked at it in a few months, but when it first came out, it was ridiculous pricing. It was by the hour or by the day.
Yep.
And it was just mind-boggling. I don't understand what they were trying to do. I would not pay $15 to rent a game for a week or whatever the pricing was. I just don't get that.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
I understand they've got server costs and things to worry about, and I know game streaming is a new kind of technology, live streaming like that, where I hit the button on my controller and it goes to the internet to their PS3, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know, those costs seemed a little unwarranted to me. And so as far as that goes, I think Xbox is doing the right thing, or Microsoft is doing the right thing with their model. And, any competition is good, so if what Microsoft does catches on, I hope Sony follows suit in one way or another, and hey, let there be a price war. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It's good for the consumer. It's good for the consumer. So yeah, as far as the Xbox goes, though, that was the big news that caught my attention. But of course, another stream that a lot of people were talking about was the Nintendo stream, and you saw this one, didn't you?
Oh yeah.
The puppets.
I mean, that pretty much won E3 right there. I mean, forget the games, forget the consoles. The puppets won.
I liked the puppets. I thought it was cute. I thought it was an attention getter.
Yeah.
A lot of people, man, they caught a lot of flack off of that, though. I mean, a lot of people criticized them for putting on a puppet show, but I thought it was clever, personally.
I did too. I mean, I was sitting there, and when it came on, and I thought I was in the wrong, because I was watching it over YouTube, and I was watching, I was like, am I in the right place? Or...
I know what you're saying. And they also, aside from the puppets, Nintendo, a lot of people criticized them this year for the games that they delivered. Which is weird, because a lot of what they showed was popular IPs. I mean, Star Fox, and Zelda was represented, Metroid was represented. I just think that those were not the type of games that people really were hoping for from Nintendo this year. But I don't know. I think the new Star Fox looks great. Star Fox on the Wii U, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that one. And Mario Maker.
Mario Maker is definitely the one that I'm most excited about this year. In fact, I think it comes out just in time for Christmas, and that's definitely one that I'm picking up. Like you said earlier, everybody from the 80s had Mario, and even the kids from the 90s had Mario. And here we are with this new piece of software that's going to let us design and share our own levels. And you can do it in several different, styles. Classic Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario 3, Super Mario World. I think it's going to be a big moneymaker for Nintendo, and I think a lot of people are underestimating how popular that's going to be.
Well, the levels are just crazy, too. I mean, the things that you can do are just, during the championships, they played a couple of levels with the Mario Maker, that's what they used to make the level. And Mario was jumping back and forth up walls and just crazy stuff.
It's really going to be interesting. I plan on getting that day one and checking it out. And see, I've had a Wii U since they first came out. And when it first came out, I got it for my kids for Christmas. And there was not much there. There was a couple of titles, but nothing that really got people excited. Now, Nintendo spent the last few years really polishing the Wii U experience. We've got a good virtual console going now. The Miiverse community lets people share things. Of course, the Amiibos is what's taking off now. And it looks like this Mario Maker is going to really take all of those functions that the Wii U offers, and it's going to support them. You'll be able to share levels on Miiverse, or I should say the Nintendo Network, that you create. You can download other people's creations. Nintendo's done a lot lately with in-game contests and things like that, with titles like Splatoon and things of that nature. So I fully expect to see, Nintendo sort of hosting, I don't want to say competitions, but contests to see who can make a level in this theme or this design. At least that's what I would expect them to do. And I really think that's going to motivate a lot of people. And I really I really can't wait to see what people come up with, because I think a lot of times big companies underestimate the creativity of the community.
Oh, always. I mean, look, like Blizzard used to put out a map maker with StarCraft, and I mean they put a new game in their catalog now because of a map that people made on StarCraft. So the community could definitely build things that, you know, is overlooked by a major company.
Absolutely. Look at mods like on games like Skyrim, for example. Or just there's some games these days that are just designed with user-made mods in mind, and they take over. Like it's insane. Like there's game Arma, and they've come out with a mod called DayZ. It's like a zombie survival thing, and that turned into its own title. That's an alpha right now, and it's a huge game. A lot of people play it on Steam. It's made careers for people, really.
Oh, yeah.
Or it's ignited careers, I should say. I'm not much of a designer. I don't know that my Mario levels will be any good. But it's going to be fun just to mess with it regardless. You know, I'm going to have fun making levels and then making my kids go through them, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, think back to when you were little and all those times you were like, oh, why is this there? It should have been, you know, this way instead. You can just make your own now.
Well, think about it. Okay, we were kids. Everybody always talked about, oh, I've made Mario jump over the flagpole.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and no one ever did. But now you can, you know.
Exactly.
silly crap like that. So yeah, I'm totally excited about it. Now you don't own a Wii U, do you?
Not yet, but it's definitely coming. There's just too many of the big old games are out now and coming soon.
You know, I'll be the weirdo that says go get it, because I mean, in my house, the Wii U is probably the most played console. My kids play it. They watch Netflix on it. They play Virtual Console games. They play Wii U games. My youngest son plays Splatoon a lot. My oldest son will play. He's going back and playing some of the older Zelda games and things like that. They're all on the Virtual Console. I say go for it. I mean, you really can't go wrong with it. And it's cheaper than ever now, too.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said in the beginning, there wasn't that much. There were definitely things that we wanted to play, but now there's just so much.
Yep. And see, I think Nintendo also was really hiding their cards a little bit this year, because they're already working on a successor to the Wii U. They call it the NX is the code name for it, and nobody knows much about it. And so I really think they're waiting till maybe next E3, or maybe even the one after that, to really drop a lot of the bombs. I think people who wanted a new classic Metroid-style game are going to have to wait for the new console. And the same with the next big Mario game. You know, but we still have the new Zelda game coming out on Wii U soon. They've already announced that. I'm a firm believer in the theory that Nintendo knows what they're doing, despite what it looks like.
Yeah,
you know?
They definitely do. I mean, you can't, stay in and be this popular for this long if you don't know what you're doing.
I agree. And anytime when the Wii came out, there were people who were excited about it, and there were people that said this is the biggest gimmick I've ever seen. With the Wii remotes and everything else. And I think it was the biggest selling console of that generation.
Oh yeah, I mean, we have one. My mom does daycare, and the Wii, man, it's been played more than any console.
When we've gone on 2 cruises, my wife and I, since the Wii came out, one in 2007 and one just this last fall, and both times that we were on the cruise ship, they have a children's room where kids can go, and that's the system that's there. It's the Wii. The kids are playing Just Dance, or they're playing Wii Sports, or doesn't matter. Kids love it. My father wants one because he wants to play golf, and he's like 71 years old.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's a great console for everybody, and I applaud Nintendo. Their 3DS is a huge hit. Hey, more power to them. I can't wait to see what they come out with.
Yeah, I know, and I'm excited about the games coming too.
And same as me. Now, there's one other conference from E3 that got a lot of attention, and that was the Sony conference. Now, you did not watch it, right?
I didn't. I had bosses to kill.
Well, I mean, it was okay. I think Microsoft and Nintendo had a better delivery this year than Sony, but Sony did really show some big games. The Last Guardian is a game I personally don't know that much about, but it's one they announced previously.
Oh, it looks so beautiful.
It does look beautiful. I don't know much about the game itself or the story behind it, but as far as graphics go, man, it looks phenomenal.
I know, and that's just the cutest whatever it was.
that you know what it reminded me of? Have you seen the Neverending Story?
Oh yeah.
Looked like
exactly.
Looked like that.
That's what I was thinking too.
But they announced some other things. Shenmue 3, which is, I wish I could tell you that I'm a fan of those games, but I never owned a Dreamcast, so I've never played them. But I do love Japanese games.
I had no idea what it was. Everybody was wigging out about it, and I was like,
It's always on the list. Shenmue is always on the list of one of the top 10 games you should play before you die kind of deal, you know? But it was a Dreamcast game, and I never owned a Dreamcast, and a lot of people didn't. But from what I understand, at the time that it came out, it was very revolutionary. It was one of those games where you could go anywhere, do anything, and it had hours and hours and hours of content. And it was just top of the line for the day. People love it. People still rave about it. I'd love to play it, but I'm not really sure I would be willing to go find an old Dreamcast, find a copy of the game just to play it. I keep hoping that maybe this one will take off and they'll come out with a Legacy Collection or something, and I can finally get my hands on it.
Well, yeah, and a lot of companies are doing that now, putting out the discs for the old games so you can catch up.
They sure are. I'll tell you, one obscure game that they announced at the Sony conference that I had never heard of until they announced it is something called No Man's Sky. Did you hear about this?
I don't think I've heard about that one, actually.
If you get the chance, I would suggest maybe looking that up. I don't know if you like space games or exploration games, but this really kind of looked interesting to me. How would I explain the video they showed? It's like I guess a universe simulator, I suppose. You have a spaceship and you can fly around the universe and explore and discover new planets, right? Like they showed a sun in this video that they displayed. They showed like a star, and they showed, I don't know, 5 or 6 planets around the star, okay? And you can go to every one and do things there. And then they panned out and they showed, a couple of solar systems, and they kept panning out, and here's the galaxy, and then boom, here's multiple galaxies.
Oh, wow.
And essentially the idea is that every star that you could see on the screen, and there were hundreds or thousands on the screen when they panned out all the way, every star has its own solar system with its own planets, with its own moons, and I could have misunderstood this, but if you're the first person to visit planet number 9023, then you go down in the records as the person who discovered the planet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now, like I said, I could have misunderstood that, but that's my understanding. I think that's really cool because it's persistent. Like I don't know if these things are randomly generated or how they're doing this, but the guy who was demoing it, he's like, I've never been here. I have no idea what's going to be here. And so, boom, he goes and he shows all the things you can do. That, I don't know. I would love an exploration type of thing like that. Like, I would love to have a game where there is no guide on the internet, per se, for every move you can make, because no one knows.
Oh, yeah. And from the sounds of it, that's just like a massive scale, too.
I don't know how in the world they're processing all that information, unless they've got a server farm or something just for the game.
Our PlayStation's going to explode.
I hope not. I've already had to do emergency surgery on my PS3 to keep it running, because I have a first gen, and I don't want my PS4 to go up too.
Definitely.
But no, I hope everything I said about that game is right, because it looked really cool, and I'm real excited to see something like that. But yeah, man, E3, Nintendo, the future's bright for gaming right now. This year alone has a lot of stuff, and I'm looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, and another thing about E3 that I was really impressed was there seemed to be a lot more indie games.
Mm-hmm.
They had the PC. They had a PC conference basically, and
Yeah,
it was
I missed that.
It was a lot of indie stuff. At one point, the guy that was hosting it put on a trucker cap, and it was like, was it Trucking Simulator? They're making an American version now, and that was one of the announcements.
Personally, that doesn't get me excited, but I mean, I'm sure there's people who play it. But hey, I've got the Goat Simulator, so I don't have the dog. Have you played that?
I haven't played it, but I've watched gameplay of it, and it's crazy.
But yeah, what you said is right. Indie developers are taking off so fast. It's amazing, and you, like you said, you're a big PC player, so you have a Steam account, and you know all about Steam and what's available on Steam. The indie games on Steam are just, I mean, they're the ones that everybody's talking about. Yeah,
and I mean, when I was first introduced to Steam, my friend was like, go look, because they have a ton of Star Wars games. I was like, oh, okay. And he was like, they have so many games there, you're gonna go crazy. There's so many good games. And I remember the first time I went, I was scrolling through looking for the Star Wars, and I was like, what is this? I'm not gonna play any of these. I've never heard of these. And then here I am now.
Well, when the games are on sale for 50 cents or $1 or $3, I mean, it's hard not to hit that buy button.
Oh, I know, and they're really good. I mean, sometimes you'll get some really just horrible games. Even for a quarter, it is bad. But there are so many really, really great games out there for a couple of dollars.
It's true. A friend of mine bought me a game as a joke for my birthday last year. And it's a game, it's a pigeon dating simulator.
Oh, I've seen that.
I hate to admit it, it's not a bad game. I really like it. I wouldn't be caught playing it, so I always go away. You know, like I go offline when I'm playing it.
I think you should review it personally.
You know, I just might. I've reviewed worse. I've reviewed. There's another dating simulator that I've reviewed on my blog. So why not the pigeon dating, right?
Go for it.
You know what? Maybe I'll buy that for you.
Pigeon dating simulator.
Oh boy. Yeah, but I do love Steam. And when it first came out, man, I didn't know what to think about it. A friend of mine told me about it, and I said, I don't know. I don't want to sign up for a service and have them hold all my games, because what happens if they ever go out of business? I lose my whole library. You know, I was one of those guys who had his desk drawer full of CD-ROMs, and that was my collection. I want to see my game. I want to smell my game. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I want it in your hand.
But now, you asked me the other day how many games are in my Steam library, and I think it's like 200 and something.
343.
Whew, man, you've beat me out.
I'm right there with you.
Man. But yeah, I'll tell you what, this year and next year, it's gonna really, it's gonna be hot with the games that are coming out. I'll never get to play them all. My backlog keeps getting bigger and bigger, and the time that I have to dedicate to games keeps getting shorter and shorter, but I'm just gonna keep trying.
Oh, I know, when they come out, especially, it seems like when there's a good game coming out, there's at least 2 or 3 coming out at the same time.
At the same time. That's right. And you have to divide your attention between them, or just throw some to the wind and focus on the one.
Oh, yeah.
What are you... Now, you play Warcraft, like, every day. That's your big game.
Yeah,
right?
I'm a guild leader, so I don't have an option to, I don't have the option to vacation from that one too often.
But what other games have your attention at the moment?
Don't Starve by Clay Entertainment is addictive.
Are you doing the Don't Starve together, or just the original?
Yeah, we're in early access. We applied like the day it opened. Me and my brother both applied, and eventually we both got in. So we didn't even have to do the Steam pay your way in thing. And me and my brother, and one of my guildies helps me with AbilityPowered. We stream it every Wednesday night on Twitch, and it's just, it's so fun.
Is that linked to your site if you want to watch it?
There is a button on AbilityPowered that you can click to go to the Twitch channel, but it's just like Twitch TV, or twitch.tv/AbilityPowered.
Now, I have that game, and I've never played it. Maybe I should fire that up and get on there with you. I'm off tomorrow. Maybe I should check it out. Next time you're playing, let me know. Send me a message.
Alright. I will say it's kind of like a huge learning curve at the beginning. You're going to die a lot at the beginning. But once you figure it out, I mean, you can't stop.
Well, I've never played the original. Are they one and the same, or is Together some sort of a sequel, or is it just the multiplayer version? What's the deal with that?
It's, yeah, they got the original Don't Starve, and then they came out with the expansion, Reign of Giants. So Don't Starve Together has both of those, and it's just the multiplayer version of Reign of Giants, and then you can do custom games, so you can turn off bits and pieces.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, man, that sounds like something I want to do. Need to get on there with you. All right. Well, that's really all I had on my list to talk about this time. I know it was sort of a loose type of thing, but I'm new to podcasting, so anyone who is confused, forgive me. But was there anything else that you wanted to talk about, or anything on your site that you wanted to bring some attention to before we call it quits for the night?
I think that's the only big thing right now. The only Blizzard news right now is they announced there's no more raids going to be in the expansion for us, which is really weird. So the Warcraft community is kind of in turmoil right now.
So what they've done, you're saying, is this last expansion that just came out of Warcraft, they said that's it, there's no more raids being added to this expansion.
Right, we have 3 raids in game right now, I think. Yes, 3 raids. And usually during the expansion there's like 3 tiers of raids. So there might be 2 at launch, and then you'll get another one later, and then another one later, or 2 more later. But this time, nothing.
Has there been any word of another expansion coming out anytime in the near future?
No, but the movie is coming out next summer. And I'm putting my money on they're going to release the expansion before the movie, so the movie comes out during that post-expansion lull that we all hit. I'm hoping that's what they're doing, and it's not a trend.
Wouldn't surprise me if they do. That sounds about right.
And that's what I'm hoping for.
So, you said you're a guild leader. Are you looking for players or anything like that? Do you want to give a shout out to your Warcraft guild?
Yeah, we're always looking for raiders. We're on Keldora server, and we're the Knights Who Say Knee. So that should tell you right there, we are really casual.
Yep. Now you have a lot of server first, don't you? Your group.
We have Realm First level 25. When they had the guild leveling in game, we got the Realm First for that one.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, that's cool. Now, me and you, we go back quite a long ways. I probably should have put this at the beginning of the show, but I've known you in one way or another for, almost 15 years.
Oh, yeah. Way back in IRC.
The IRC days in the Tennessee channel. That's where me and you first met. And we have kept in touch ever since. I'll tell you, one day we have got to meet in person. I think you met my wife in person.
I did. We were going through a spur-of-the-moment thing, and I was like, hey, we should stop at this little town.
Well, there you go. And one of these days, I don't know if I'll get down your way or not, but it's got to happen. Maybe at a convention or something. I don't know if you go to those much or if at all, but we'll figure something out.
Definitely.
All right. Well, Short, thanks so much. I'm going to go ahead and put an end to it for tonight. But I'd like to have you back next time or any time you want. Just let me know. All
right. I'm always around.
All right. Thank you. And for those of you who are listening, if you have any questions or if you have any suggestions, like I said, we're both new to podcasting. Please feel free to send an email. You can email me at chris@retrosensei.net if you want to send an email to Short. Her email address is short@retrosensei.net. Any feedback, any suggestions would be great. And you guys have a great night, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Bye.